and energy and love to the Jewish people and was with us until the end. On the front of your cards, you have the 23rd Psalm, and we'll join together in English. A Song of David. Eternal God, you are my shepherd, I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters. Please, let's join together if you have the card. You restore my soul. You guide me in paths of righteousness for the sake of your name. Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. With rod and staff, you comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. So today is a time for sharing, and we will hear from her family who so loved her. Her children, Dana Cunningham, Karen Martin, and Sari Resnick, and grandchildren, Rachel Cunningham and Jake Cunningham.
Oh, okay. I'll do this one.
So that we'll pick you up.
Okay. Is that good? Mom was an incredible daughter to Sophie. A mother, a grandmother, truly the best. She was well known for her short visits. Sometimes they were like drive-bys. Her impatience, especially when things weren't moving fast enough for her. Saying things like, "Eat it or I'll put it in your pants." Or, "I know there's dessert in the freezer, cakes and cookies." She loved to make her stovetop popcorn in the oldest, crustiest pot you've ever seen. Big Bear trips and cheering on the Padres. Babysitting, baking cookies, making pancakes with sprinkles. She was the best grandma, even when she ignored my very detailed, well-typed-up instructions. She never missed a moment. Dance recitals, soccer, basketball, and baseball games. School plays, graduations, she was always there cheering the kids on. As a child, she enjoyed ballet, tap dancing with her brother Howard, and ice skating in Minnesota. At 21, she learned mahjong and played well into this year. She was also active on bowling and women's softball teams. Who knew she was such a jock? When we moved back to San Diego, Mom worked at Nordstrom's, where she found the cutest baby clothes and, of course, collected hundreds of Beanie Babies that are still in my attic. This is where Heather introduced her to the second love of her life, Jim. They honeymooned with a ski trip to Tahoe and shared a beautiful life filled with travel, golf, bridge, which she really didn't like, Liverpool gin, and lots of laughter. Once again, a jock. Together they explored the world on cruises and tours, but the tours never moved quite fast enough for Mom. She always said she could do them much more efficiently and quickly. She spent over 25 years at the La Jolla YMCA doing aqua aerobics, was involved in a book club, and part of the Cinema Society, and had many wonderful adventures with her close friends in Havara. Later, she returned to work at Congregation Beth Israel, where she finally retired. She taught me so many things, but most of all, how to be a kinder, nicer, and more compassionate person. Even up until the day she passed, she kept meeting new friends. This was just who she was, loving, caring, and endlessly giving.
Ditto to everything Dana said. And before I start this, I'm just going to say that Dana has been amazing with both Jim and Mom since probably COVID. and Rachel too, and that everyone should have a Dana and Rachel nearby. I saw this poem that what we leave behind is not what is engraved on our stones, but what is woven into the lives of others. And I think you'll see from everyone here, that's how we'll remember Mom. I have a few stories to share. When Rex was in the hospital for hernia surgery, Mom came up to be with us. She stayed at the hospital and she brought us food for afterwards, amazing homemade chicken soup, and a Trader Joe chocolate ganache cake that we didn't eat at the time, so we put it in the freezer. A few months later, we had family, and my dad was there, and we pulled the cake out for dessert, and I opened it, and there were candle marks and wax on the cake. She'd given us a used cake. We laughed about this for years and years. I think she had forgotten it was a used cake and put it back in the freezer, and she was okay with that. And if you know Gail, she loved a freezer, so later on, anytime we would eat at her house or she would offer us food, we'd ask how long it had been in the freezer. When I became a mom, I realized there were so many of the things I did and do with my son Rex that she'd done with me. Cuddle on the couch in the mornings, put her lips on my forehead to see if there was a fever, and I disagree with doctors who say that doesn't work. Every mom knows it works. Sing silly songs and dance. And Mom helped me move so many times during college. I have memories of us filling up her gold Subaru wagon and hauling mattresses and boxes all over San Diego. So it seemed full circle that when I got the text that she had passed, I was in Arizona where I was moving Rex. But most importantly, she always told us she loved us, and I do the same with Rex. Mom had a heart issue some time ago, and after she came home from the hospital, she told us she'd had an epiphany. And we were all curious as to what this could be and what important life lesson she was going to share. Well, her epiphany was new patio furniture. And again, we laughed about this forever, until about 2 weeks ago, because I've moved. And I was sitting on my patio with my old table and chairs, and I looked at it and thought, I'm too old to sit on uncomfortable furniture. So I bought cushy chairs, and I could sit outside and relax in comfort. And I got to tell her that I finally understood her epiphany. So many of the things I love to do are from Mom, but probably the most is taking walks. We were taking walks since I was in middle school. And we'd walk, and when we were getting to where our destination was, she would always say, touch. And she would touch a tree or a pole or whatever was nearby. And that meant we were at our destination. We had arrived and we were home. So I'll close this by saying, Mom, I love you and I miss you. And know you're with Jim, either taking a walk or sitting on comfy patio furniture or at a Padres game where you brought your own snacks. So touch.
Last week, I was looking through a box of old photos that my sister Dana has stashed at her house. Okay. While I shuffled through the moments, years and decades, I came across a photo of Mom that was unlike any I had seen before. This picture was among many taken from the same camera roll on the same trip, which were all framed with a white border. In this particular picture, she appears to be at a bed and breakfast, which also appears to be located in Boston. The location was revealed when I found a picture of Jim posing next to a cutout of Norm Peterson, the lovable barfly from Cheers. What caught me by surprise, pleasant surprise, regarding this particular photo was her pose. Smiling ear to ear with a mischievous twinkle in her eye, holding onto the banister of the bed with one hand, while the other hand was raised ever so slightly in front of her, fingers folded back, middle finger in the air. She was giving the photographer the bird. What I see when I look at this photo is a woman who is in love for the second time and living her best life. My mom enjoyed a good laugh, and I always loved being able to make her laugh. She worked hard during the years to help provide a better life for herself and her family. She loved fashion, and offered to buy me a new wardrobe on numerous occasions if I would stop shaving and dyeing my hair. She was sincere and sensitive and cried frequently while watching television commercials, which always gave me a laugh. She loved being a mother. It was second nature to her, and I am so extremely fortunate that she was mine. She was honest and never afraid to tell you what she thought, but she was also private, keeping sensitive information locked away. My mom was so much more than meets the eye. This newly found photo fills my heart with so much joy because I see a woman with a playful spirit who reminds me so much of myself.
A lot of my memories with Grandma aren't the big grand ones. She was a part of my everyday life, small moments, and those are my favorites. Going on walks together during COVID, grabbing lunch at UTC, hanging out, watching reality TV, reading side by side, and many shopping trips with Mom's credit card, which does explain why she always said I could get whatever I wanted. And of course, there were the big things too. Countless trips to Big Bear, a family cruise, and accidentally ending up in San Francisco during Pride for my 6th grade graduation trip. She was always there, always smiling, always happiest when she was with family, even when we were driving her absolutely nuts, which was often. I loved coming here before Hebrew school to see her get a tube of mini M&Ms and tell everyone that she was my grandma and that the M&Ms were for me and me only, even though she gave them to every kid who walked through her office. She was the soul of our family, the one who reminded us to be kind, to look for the good in people, to show up for each other and for what matters. She was my biggest cheerleader, always in my corner, always encouraging me to trust my gut and believing in me, always reminding me I could handle anything life threw at me. I feel peace knowing she's back with Papa, hopefully planning some amazing vacation somewhere, or telling him to stop buying crap from the 99-cent store. And I know I'll never stop loving her, remembering her, and I'll never stop trying to make her proud.
My grandma was one of the best people I've ever met. She was so kind, and she was never mean to another human being. She was the best grandma. She was unconditionally loving, always supportive, and always there for me. She never scolded me, even when I was a little kid, sprinting through their house with their fancy glass sculptures and fancy artwork, threatening to destroy everything. She was a role model to me, too, and she always had time for those in her life. She was so supportive of me growing up, cheering me on at my baseball games with Jim right by her side, bribing me with a lobster dinner if I got a home run. Some of my favorite memories are with her and Jim, spending weekends at their Big Bear house, and Jim and Gail walking us through the town, buying all the crap that we never needed after a day of skiing. She had this way of making everyone in her life feel so loved. As I got older, I realized that wasn't just who she was as a grandma. It was who she was to everybody in her life, as a mother, as a wife, and as a friend. She was always there for people when they needed her. And when Jim passed away last year, she missed him so much. I asked her what she missed the most about Jim being gone, and she just said being with him, taking walks around the property, going on their walks every morning. She told me to cherish that with my girlfriend. And even at the very end, she was still making friends, like my mom said, everywhere she went, with her kindness and humor. The staff at Westmont, who helped take care of her, would tell us with genuine warmth, "We love your grandma so much." And she'd joke back, "Well, of course you do. I'm great." And it was true until the last day. She was great. And I'll try to keep her kindness with me throughout the rest of my life.
There's no more beautiful way than to honor a mom and a grandmother. This was a woman who went out of her way for anyone, and she did it cheerfully. She was one of the first people I met here at Beth Israel. And for the many years that I traveled back and forth to LA for rabbinic school, there were endless phone calls between Gail and I, because there was no Waze and there was no Rabbi Google. Yeah, we started this in 2004. And I would call Susan, or I would call Gail, mostly because Gail had the most information about LA, and I would give her names of streets and store signs, and then she would direct me to wherever I needed to go. And she did it with laughter and love, and would say, when it was me on the phone, "Where are you?" And then she would call back and say, "Did you get where I told you to go?" Yeah, so that kind of person. Well, in my heart, I like to believe I know, or at least I hope I know, where Gail is. Gathered with Jim, gathered to her ancestors in the heavenly Jerusalem, as our tradition often says. I want to tell you a couple things about her. Her Jewish name, which we're going to use in a moment in the El Malei Rachamim, was Golda Hinda, and she's the daughter of Eliachaim and Shifra. So Golda is Yiddish, and Hinda is also Yiddish, and Golda, as it sounds, means gold. This was a woman with a heart of gold, a soul that was golden, and eyes like a doe, which is what Hinda means. When the girls and I did the last final confession, as we do only at the end of life in Jewish tradition for her, she had her eyes closed in the beginning, and then she opened them and said thanks. But she was elegant, just like a deer, and she was charming and graceful. And maybe she didn't have those kind of big eyes, but you could see what her eyes were saying and what she meant. She was, as I said, Isha Miyuchedet B'mina, an extraordinary woman in her generation. And so I say, Zichrona Livracha, her memory is always going to be a blessing. After our service, you are all welcome to the social hall for a meal of consolation. Donations in Gail's honor and memory can be made to Congregation Beth Israel Caring Community or the Jacobs and Kushner San Diego Food Bank. There will be 2 Shiva Minyanim at Dana's home, and there is, I think, directions in the back if you can pick up a little sheet of paper if you're going, and they will be tonight and tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And our rabbis, Rabbi Jason Navarez, and tomorrow night Rabbi Michael Burke, with whom she worked closely, will be there to lead those Shiva Minyanim, and we are grateful to them. And when we conclude this service, please wait for the family, and there are a lot of them, to leave the sanctuary first, and so that they may greet you on the way out. Won't you please rise for the El Malei Rachamim and Kaddish? The El Malei Rachamim is a prayer for Gail's soul. It uses her Jewish name, and if you have the card, we're going to do it also in English, and there are 3 little dots on that side. Please use her name as you called her. El Malei Rachamim shochen bamromim hametzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina im kedoshim utzurim kezor harakia mazhirim et nishmat Golda Hinda בעדלי החיים ושפרה שלחה לעולמה, בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה, אנה בל הרחמים, יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. Together, God filled with mercy, who dwells on high, bring proper rest beneath the wings of your presence, amid the ranks of the holy and pure, to Gail Malkus, who has entered eternity. The Garden of Eden will be her resting place. May you, who are the source of mercy, shelter her beneath your wings eternally, and bind her soul in the bond of everlasting life. Eternal God, you are her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And the Kaddish prayer on the back of the cards you will see in English if you are not participating in the Hebrew and Aramaic. Thanks God over and over and over again for Gail's life, but speaks nothing about death. We join together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon, u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'gala u'vizman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam ulolmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shmei Dekutsha Brichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens cause peace to reign among us, all Israel, and all the world. And together we say, Amen. I want to wish family, Amakom Yinachem Etchem B'toch Shara V'alei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted among all of the mourners in Zion and Jerusalem, and mourners wherever they are in this world. Together we say, Amen. Thank you so much for showing up.